people feel like that the day. Yeah, groovy, David.
Did Ryan just? Oh, I'm running into internet
cut
issues.
up for me too. Yeah.
Okay, maybe not. Let's start this thing over. Wow, that song was super groovy. How are you feeling today, Ryan?
Hey, I'm feeling great. Can you hear me this time?
Yes, I can hear you this time. Much better, much better. How are you doing today, my man? All right, this isn't me, right? This is Ryan.
Yeah, it's Ryan.
All right, it's Ryan. What's up, Justin? I'm feeling super groovy today. How are you today?
I'm glad you asked, David. I'm also feeling super groovy, and that song just had immaculate summer vibes. It's a nice sunny day up here in Boston, so that was perfect.
I'm on a sunny day over here on so definitely feeling it. Okay, Justin, you and I met at ETH New York at the ETH New York Hackathon in 2019. I'm going to start this with a little bit of a story while Ryan figures out his internet. It was you, me, Trent Van Epps, and Alex Stokes. And I think I was meeting all three of you for the first time. It was one of my very first in real life hackathons that I'd ever gone to after ETH Denver. And we were all, I can't remember, we were going to somewhere. We were going to like dinner or something. Hopped in an Uber, and you just started bombarding Alex Stokes with questions around the incoming ETH 2.0 spec. This is right after we had gotten this idea of Ethereum 2.0. This is right after we kind of pivoted away from whatever plan that we had prior. And you were just bombarding him with like spec questions about like the latency of like signing messages and how that would propagate to like Ethereum validators, and making sure that latency would be super low because you didn't want to like have a hot wallet with all of your funds on it. You wanted to have like high security hardware wallets also being able to be a signer. And like I was listening to this totally over like my head in terms of like technical competency. And like I remember the first thing I was thinking of like was like, oh, this Justin guy, man, he really gives a shit about like hardware wallets. Wow. Do you remember that? Do you remember that car ride?
I remember that exact car ride. I will say, I think I might have even met you sooner, and I have another anecdote on that. But yeah, on that one, for me, I was thinking about how long it takes to actually sign a message with a hardware device and that turnaround. And so I was very excited to see, whether we would be able to support ETH2 in many ways. Having signing, but also my thought was, at the time, we were really kind of obsessed with the idea of providing hardware security for signing and validator keys. You really only have to do it for your withdrawal keys now, with the way that the spec has evolved. But for me, it was the idea of, as I learned about how things were going to be structured at attestations, whether we could sign with hardware in time. So yeah, I've always been a complete crazy in the weeds crypto nerd. The anecdote I was thinking of was, I think I met you a little earlier in that year at ETH Denver, and I've used this anecdote before because it kind of shows off how much you grind. This was pre-Bankless, and you were working in an old company called Realty, and I just remember you cranking on your laptop all day, managing all of these different inbound requests, and you were sort of like the switchboard for the whole project, rather. And so it was impressive just how dedicated you were to manning the controls no matter what else was going on at the conference.
Yeah, man. I think the big takeaway that I want the audience to listen to is Justin and Grid Plus go way back. We all kind of go way back. And so hardware wallets are not something to take lightly, especially as a consumer product. And someone like Justin, who has been around Ethereum, watching the actual spec develop from day one, and has been building a hardware wallet from the very early days. The Grid Plus is a product I own. I know Ryan owns one as well. And so when it comes to just like security, Justin, I would say, is definitely the archetype of the person that I would want designing the hardware wallet that manages my funds. Ryan, are you with us?
I'm with you guys. Yeah. I was just listening to that love fest. I'm glad you guys you two get along so well. And I just want to shout out Grid Plus. The latest one is just a fantastic wallet for crypto veterans. And if you've not checked it out, if you've considered getting one before and have been kind of on the fence, is this really better than a Ledger? Which one should I buy? I would just say stay tuned for the rest of this episode, because I think that's the case that we're going to make. I just actually got a text or a message in the Bankless Discord of a Bankless citizen who asked the question, "Do you use Grid or Ledger?" and said, "I've used both, and I prefer Grid massively." Justin, I want to maybe start getting into the hardware wallet conversation of what inspired you guys to build Grid Plus. Like, why hardware wallets? There's already Trezor out there. There's already Ledger. Why did you start along this path? Like, what's different about Grid Plus?
So at the very beginning, it was about meeting our own personal needs. We were the founding team and I, the people we were all Ethereum nerds. And so we found that the tools out there weren't really adequate for what we wanted to do and all the things we could envision in the space. A lot of that was very forward looking. 2016, when you're using Ethereum, I don't think people would even be familiar with the tools back then, like the Mist browser and how limited everything was. But for us, it was because we couldn't see what we were signing. We couldn't approve certain types of transactions with the devices we had. So I don't ever want to kind of pit one company against the other. I want people to get a hardware wallet no matter what. Just taking that first basic step will make crypto better for all of you, having a little more of an ability to sleep well at night. But we built for different purposes. It was not cool to be into Ethereum in 2017, and it was definitely never going to go back over $20. And the DAO, it was just the final coffin nail for the platform. So we were kind of building in a space that was for us specifically, something that served our needs with the things that captured our interest. And I think it was, whether it was luck or prescience, that is where we as an industry are going today. Everyone signs on chain quite frequently with smart contract chains. That's how we're using these tools. So that was one of the main things. And then we wanted to enable, more real world use cases. We were crazy people before things got as big as today. I mean, we really wanted to build something with the parameters that would make it suitable, the right security profile for a world in which crypto was globally, systemically important. And now it's surreal that we're actually there, and we see legislators talking about crypto regulation, and it has such massive reach. I wasn't sure if I was just crazy at the time or if we'd ever actually get there. But that was it. We wanted something that could work at a nation state level, and we wanted to be one of the first teams to go there and build for that future in which we're all going to be using crypto, whether we know it or not, in some capacity.
Yeah, that's a good framing. I think in 2024, we kind of often forget that we're here in crypto to make super decentralized, censorship resistant, nation state attack resistant level protocols. And I think we sometimes forget that starts with hardware. Eventually, all of these networks boil down to some hardware somewhere. And whether or not you can resist the highest level, ultra authoritarian nation state level attack is really a function of just how good is your hardware. And that kind of brings me to my first question, Justin. The lattice, if listeners in this in this space want to also, if they're not familiar with what the lattice looks like, they should definitely Google it so they can get a picture in their brain. It's a very specific form factor. It's a by comparison of what people are used to in terms of what a hardware wallet is. It's a pretty chunky box. Can you talk about why that form factor? Why the 6-inch size box that's kind of dedicated to sit on your desk? This thing isn't not meant to go in your suitcase and travel with you around the world. It's a pretty specific form factor. So can you talk about the decisions behind the choice of the form factor behind the Lattice One?
Sure. So the far and away the most significant factor was Ethereum. At the time, so if we think about the two things you get out of a hardware wallet, you get your keys out of an unsecure environment, which is your computer or phone. And then you have a secure screen, which is a really critical application and kind of the key point of these devices. It's a last line of defense where you can see what you're signing and see if what your computer is displaying is what you're actually signing when you have clarity from a secure device. So that leads into another topic, which is clear signing, but we can talk about that after. But for us to be able to see what we're signing with Ethereum, you need a bigger screen. A little readout on the earliest hardware wallets, it made a lot of sense because what are you verifying? You're verifying the recipient's Bitcoin address. But we do a lot more complicated things today. We're signing with DeFi protocols. We're even trying to sign with DeFi protocols through our safe multi-sigs, and we're curating NFT collections. Realistically, people can't see those interactions and be sure they're doing what they actually intend to do if you have just that tiny screen. So I'm actually feeling that the whole industry is going to be moving towards where we are in that regard. You need to have a bigger screen for clear signing, and clear signing is essential for keeping yourself safe with where crypto is going today. There are a couple of older reasons as well. Again, as ETH nerds, we were following the development of Casper, ETH2, and what we now just know as Ethereum on proof of stake. So I'm a decentralization maxi, a privacy nerd, and I want everybody to stake at home, even if you're not able to stake. You get an old computer and run an execution layer client. So we wanted this device to be the first turnkey staking device. The spec changed quite a bit since we set out to do this, though. With the earliest iterations of Casper, which is Ethereum's proof of stake protocol, the consensus mechanism, that was something we could initially service, but then the spec changed quite a bit. So early on, we actually had the Teku team, someone had cross-compiled it to run 64 instances of the Prism validator on the device. So that was one reason we wanted it always on. And the third ties into that idea of nation-state level security. One unique attribute of what we do is that all the secure elements are isolated from the outside world, and they're behind basically a tripwire. Like, that's the degree of paranoia we're working with. It's called an anti-tamper mesh. And that means that if anyone tries to take apart the device to get your private keys out or to tamper with a device, when they trigger that mesh, it's just going to erase everything. It's going to brick the device. It's going to erase your private keys. So that requires, if you want those same security standards when the device is powered down, you got to have a battery in there. Desktop format allows you to plug it in and extend the life of that battery by 10, 15 years more. So that was really important. We actually now, with all the lessons we learn along the way, we can do a lot of these things. Not the turnkey validator, use DAppNode for that. And I totally suggest that people do. But we can do a lot of these things much better with what we've learned over the years, and also all the advances in technology. But yeah, generally, I think this was the first big swing for smart contract hardware security. We were trying to do things in a different way that met our needs. I like the desktop format for the ergonomics of it. I sign every day. But yeah, I take this guy around with me in my backpack around the world, and it's not quite convenient, but for people at trading desks, crypto family offices, signing at home on a regular basis, I think this is the absolute ideal for many reasons. But yeah, we're going to be, I think in the next iteration or the next device that we come out with, and it's a little ways off, it will be a mobile form factor that is cross-compatible with a Lattice. It will still use our safeguards, which is another topic. But yeah, those are the reasons behind it. Everything kind of revolved around Ethereum. So it was staking, and also critically clear signing.
I think for me, Justin, it's that last piece specifically, like the clear signing stuff and all of this is like amazing. But like it's also that last piece that gives me the most peace of mind with respect to the Lattice one, and that's like the tamper resistance, nation state level tamper resistance. I remember like the early days of Ethereum and Bitcoin, and people would talk about all sorts of different ways to like kind of hide their private keys, right? Like you etch it into a piece of metal and you like bury it in your backyard or something like this. And then we kind of graduated to hardware wallets, but there's always that nightmare scenario of like, what if someone finds my, insert hardware wallet in here, Trezor, Ledger, something like this? Could they still extract the keys, right? If they get physical access to it. With Grid Plus and with Lattice One, like it's kind of a Fort Knox. So can you just get into that in a bit more detail? What happens if an adversary, you're carrying the Lattice One around in your backpack or something like this, or somebody like breaks into the office where you have your Lattice One and they get physical proximity access to the Lattice One? Like they will try to attempt to extract the keys. And what are you saying? Like it just gets erased, or like how does this give peace of mind? Because I have full peace of mind, and like I know why. But could you explain that to listeners?
Sure. So different hardware wallets, they're not necessarily interchangeable in terms of their security properties. Again, getting any hardware wallet or even using Wallet Connect with an old phone is a positive step that everyone should take. I'll gladly help you set up a competitor's device as long as I can get your private keys out of your computer for you. I'll sleep a little better at night, knowing that I don't have to deal with then helping you connect to people to try and track down what happened to your money. But what this does is, without getting too technical, this mesh is basically like a 3D maze of electrical traces surrounding the screen drawn by the secure enclave, and all the secure chips where your private keys are stored. And it always has a signal running through it, a waveform. And if that's ever altered in any way or shorted out, it will actually completely erase your private keys. It will erase all the secrets from the device. Why is this important? Earlier devices and even some devices today, they don't take physical security into account in their threat model. So they have a positive impact in that getting your keys out of your computer can help you protect you from malware. It can help protect you against certain attack vectors, but they don't consider the idea of someone actually getting their hands on your device. So for those that don't mind, Googling around to the sketchier parts of the internet, you can look for key recovery services, which is a euphemism for certain brands of hardware wallets. You can send off the device to them and they will extract the private keys for you in exchange for a cut of what's on there. It's usually like 30% over a given threshold, as long as you meet that threshold or they keep it all.
Wow, that's
Wait,
robbery.
wait. I actually wasn't aware of that. So you're saying there was like darknet kind of services where somebody could, I won't name a brand here, but somebody could send a hardware wallet brand to a third party and they will take commission on the cut of the assets that you hold on your hardware wallet and extract those keys.
Correct. And you can actually find examples of the key extraction methods on YouTube. I would just say, if you're still rocking your 2016 hardware wallet, don't do that. Yeah, so you can see that it's limited to certain devices. Some of these manufacturers have done mitigations in recent years, and some older models just have chips with known vulnerabilities. So is it still better to use that 2016 hardware wallet than have nothing at all? Yes, but does that mean you're protected if someone physically steals your device and knows to look for a service like this? No, you're not. Basically, what those things do is they allow you to it takes a very sophisticated party with a lot of technical know-how, but it will allow them to extract the private keys and brute force the PIN on a general purpose computer.
And they cannot do that with the Lattice One. There's no YouTube videos out there. There's no like darknet kind of like service to try to do this.
Well, the important caveat is there is nothing in security that is perfect. Everything will fall eventually. We haven't yet. And when something like that does happen, we'll disclose it, communicate with our users, and keep improving. Security is basically a never-ending arms race. When it comes to crypto security, users are losing billions, literally billions of dollars each year, because there's no better target. They're digital bearer assets. You can remotely scam people out of life-changing money. So there's always going to be the incentive. There's going to be new and creative ways from technically competent people to try and separate you from your crypto. And all we can do is keep iterating, keep hardening our offering, and keep improving. So yeah, that's the state. I would just caution and say, yes, that is not possible with our devices at this time, but I would never say that anything we sell is perfect or even good enough.
Okay, so nobody can steal my private keys from inside of my Lattice One. But if somebody does get a hold of my Lattice One and tries, and then the Lattice One does its job and erases my private keys, I'm still private keyless. So how do I get my money back? Like, can you talk about that? What defense do I have against actually, like, because I still want my money. So maybe we can talk about like the safeguards and where my private key actually lives.
Okay, so that's a great question. And everybody, no matter whether you're using a hot wallet or hardware wallet, you need to have multiple backups if you're doing self-custody of your secret recovery phrase. Now, Ryan, you mentioned metal plates, and a lot of hardware wallets come with a sheet of paper. I don't love these solutions. I mean, having a backup is better than no backup. We're always talking about marginal improvements and something always being better than nothing at all. But the risk there is that recovery phrase, those are the keys to your life savings. If anyone snaps a picture of a complete seed phrase recovery sheet like that, whether it's on metal or paper, they now have complete unfettered control of your assets. So what we did, another unique thing about the Lattice is that it's one device that can let you sign with as many seed phrases as you want. So you don't have to buy a new hardware wallet for each. Instead, we have a solution called safecards. Being on a Twitter space without the visual, they basically look exactly like a credit card with a chip. And what these do, once you set up your device, you can back up your private keys and seed phrase directly to one of these cards. Every Lattice comes with one. So it's the only solution out there that does an easy push button encrypted solution that never touches a computer for backing up your private keys. And from there, you can make copies of it, store them in different locations. And they're PIN protected. It's a battle tested security standard used in government applications and credit cards all over the world. And for us, we think it kind of closes the gap on some of the anxieties of self-custody, managing that seed phrase. I mean, once people start accruing a certain amount of money in crypto, we all spend a little bit of time laying in bed at night worrying. And over the years, we get all kinds of questions. I mean, I cite this to show just how thorough crypto nerds are. I get a lot of questions about solar flares erasing electronic devices with electromagnetic pulses. And they're like, maybe that's why I should be using metal. If you're going to have to use paper or metal, either way, what you want to do is split it into multiple pieces so no one can see your whole seed phrase at once, and then have multiple copies of each of those. But for my life savings and for my family, I use a multi-sig with these safecards, and I have them in different physical locations. So for me, it's a complete solution. And then the other cool thing is, if you use MetaMask, Rabby, Frame, any tool you like, you can have wallets from each different seed phrase all connected. So if I want to use one from a different card, like I have work ones, there's one for customer service. I pop it into the device, I enter the PIN, and then now I can sign with a totally different seed phrase, and it's already connected to MetaMask and labeled. So for me, it's really convenient. And it seems crazy that we're doing a lot of difficult things with our seed phrase backups, because at the end of the day, all the cool things we do in crypto, it's all made possible by our public and private key pairs. It's made possible by our combination of software and hardware wallets. So I feel like we've kind of set up most new users coming in for failure because we don't really give them great tools to easily do this stuff. We tell them, not only do you have to do self-custody and educate yourself about scams, but now you have to figure out a backup solution. So for me, there's no one solution that's perfect for every person and company and application. But I love just having my private keys and my seed phrase on a card that I know never touched a computer. The other thing I want to emphasize on this is we are full-on cypherpunk nerds. So if you're hearing this and thinking, oh yeah, well, great, he's selling me something, it's a proprietary solution. Our mandate, above all else, is to make sure you always have access to your money. So we have open source tools. You can always recover your seed phrase and keys from our cards with a third-party card reader from Amazon, which costs like $10. And we always want you to be able to have access to your money, even if there wasn't a single Grid Plus product left on Earth.
So the safecards, Justin, they are like, if people are familiar with setting up a hardware wallet, you have to save your seed phrase somewhere, and really the safecards take the place of having a 12 or 24 word seed phrase that you have to go back up. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We are backing up the seed phrase itself, but it's encrypted. So you can pop it back in the device, go through a couple of warnings, telling you to make sure there's no one looking over your shoulder, and you can enter your PIN for that safeguard and see the seed phrase again if you want to import that account elsewhere.
And so what happens if somebody finds the safeguard itself? Let's say you carry it in your wallet or something, or let's say you put your safecards in a safe deposit box at the bank or something like this, and it's broken into. What are they able to do with the safeguard itself?
Well, they're going to need your PIN to be able to do anything. If there's 3 consecutive incorrect PIN entries, even if they're on different devices, it will erase the safeguard. It will remove your private keys from there.
So if
So
somebody has physical access to a safe card, you really just don't have to worry about it, right? If they find your safe card, if your safe deposit box at the bank is like broken into and they get the safe card, it won't give them anything because they have to know that PIN number as well.
that's correct. There's always something you have to remember. I mean, if you're burying your metal plates in your backyard and you've divided them up, there's something that if you want your family members to recover your crypto, you're going to have to know some secret. I think a pin protected encrypted tool that is push button is just easier for most people. And that's what I entrust my family's savings with. I actually, without getting too into the weeds, I use a combination of Safe, which is the Ethereum multisig, and then each of the signers is a safeguard. And I have like one with the attorney and the others in other backups in other locations. So I can never be forced to give up my money under duress, and no one can access my crypto without having all these pieces, and no one knows unless I actually get hit by a bus. So,
guys, let me just emphasize that to me, what Justin has just described is pretty much the gold standard of like how you do this whole key management thing on a hardware wallet. And I think that's a brilliant way to do it. It's probably the best I've heard, because like imagine an alternative of you have another vendor's hardware wallet, and like what do you give your legal counsel? 24 word seed phrase? Like, no, that's like giving them all of your bare assets and your money. And I don't know, Justin, if you have any stats on this, but we've been talking part of the threat vector of being your own bank, basically, is like getting funds stolen from you. Like some theft, some hacker like steals it. It's a phishing scam because you didn't read the message, in the Ethereum transaction you're about to make. But I gotta think that there's another whole subset of like ways people lose money, and just that they misplace their backup, or they God forbid, they pass away, right, in something unexpected, and their family no longer has access to those funds, right? So like I don't know if you can quantify, but like I've heard so many terrible stories of how this has happened just because the backup process for a hardware wallet hasn't been easy, and really the safeguards are kind of like the easy button for this. Do you have any stories, or like how often in your experience do people just screw up the backup process and lose their funds? It's not even stolen; they just lose them.
So yeah, when people try to roll their own solutions, they're introducing additional risk. One of the things I never realized I was going to have to deal with on a pretty regular basis working at a wallet company is a whole lot of people that come to you and start thinking about their security only after something really unfortunate happens. I don't have overall stats on how many seed phrases are lost. It's really hard to track something like that. And generally when people get wrecked, they feel embarrassed to talk about it publicly. But yes, it has happened. On a lighter note, there was one, a person had moved out of an apartment and had to ask the new neighbor, the new tenants to like come in and get an envelope out of a secret space with his seed phrase. But people, they do these things because we don't have like an industry standard solution. They do things that seem good in the short term, but losing access themselves is something we see frequently. And I mean, I've heard a lot of crazy solutions. One of my favorites, and this person did not lose funds this way, but people are so paranoid about their crypto holdings. If you're listening, I'm sorry, I'm sharing your secret, Mr. Customer. But they had their own house, and they decided to get a giant chest freezer to put in their garage. And then they laminated their their seed phrase sheet, wrapped it in plastic, and then froze it in a gigantic block of ice. And they were like, I know at least if someone got into this, I'll be able to see right away, if this 100-pound block of ice has been melted or chipped at.
Hey, who told you about my wallet security method?
Yeah. It's like the cold storage puns write themselves. I'm very sorry. Old man humor. But yeah, I mean, but that is like all these anecdotes aside, people do these things because we don't make it easy. I read a piece the other day from like a well-respected Bitcoiner, and it was comparing like 70 metal sheets, right? But it doesn't give people the practical knowledge about what they should be doing with these things, where they should be stashing them, what the risks are. So I think like people don't read manuals. We as an industry have to do way better. I know what we want to improve on. Our devices So always going to be a work in progress. There's always things that we need to improve upon. But I think as an industry overall, I would love to see a better emerging standard for how we back up our private keys. We'll see that a little bit with account abstraction wallets and guardians, but there are so many unanswered questions there. So people are thinking about these things, but there's really nothing good enough for the average user yet.
Yeah, one thing I'll say is, like, there are major advances in smart contract wallets, abstraction wallets, that kind of thing. Like, even just like Gnosis Safe is a fantastic tool. That does not replace a hardware wallet. In fact, like, having a hardware wallet should be like your base level of security if you're truly going bankless and being your own bank, because you want to use that hardware wallet to be a signer on some of these smart contract wallets, right? It's like having a safe wallet, for instance, having your Lattice One as a signer to that safe wallet just like amplifies and compounds your security posture. Like, one thing, because you were just talking about Bitcoin and like metal plates and this sort of thing. People are probably wondering, what other assets besides Ether and ERC20 type tokens can this thing hold at this point?
So that's something that's going to change quite a bit in the near future. So an interesting thing about the Lattice on a technical level, it doesn't let you sign with all these things today, but we have the cryptographic libraries to sign for anything. We should be the only wallet that should be able to allow you to sign with ZK curves. We can define arbitrary curves. So I know for most people that's in the weeds, but the point is, by end of year, you should be able to sign with most major assets. For us, we don't want to compete against all the great software wallets out there. We want to be the plug-in security layer in your key management that enhances your security using the tools you already have. So for us, it's about getting partners. We added Solana support a long time ago. It's still going to be about another month before people can use it because we're waiting for the software integrations. But around that time, we should be an XDeFi, a brand new wallet team I love called NewFi, and then Backpack and others. So yeah, right now what we do is Bitcoin, and the real focus has been EVM chains. So that's all the L2s, all the other EVM chains out there. But we want to cover everything. We don't want you to have a second hardware wallet just to be able to, hold your XRP or whatever else. We should cover every asset, and we should be there in the pretty near future, thanks to our multi-chain partners.
So Justin, we've been talking most of the time about what Lattice One can kind of provide today, right? But you implied and you hinted at earlier in our conversation that there were new features, new products in the future. I don't know if you could say anything about that, but one way I view Lattice One and also the safeguard system is this is almost like a ticket to the ecosystem, right? It's like the ticket that you buy, but like, if you have a safeguard for the next product that Grid Plus rolls out, like the next version of a Lattice, you're still going to be able to use those same safeguards. So it's almost like investing now as a ticket to the ecosystem. But can you talk about what the possibilities are? What other products you have in store and like ideas like moving forward for the Grid Plus ecosystem?
Sure. So the first things are on the software side. The Lattice One's a really powerful device, I think uniquely so for dedicated cryptographic signer. So there's a great deal that we're going to be able to roll out on an ongoing basis through firmware improvements. Some things are under the hood to make it more performant and faster and look cooler. Others will be adding additional features and chains. I want to touch on one thing, which was sort of our claim to fame. We were the first ones to work on clear signing for smart contract chains. So I'm going to get into that, and I'm going to talk about the next product and how that fits in. Clear signing is so important because if you are signing with a hardware wallet or a software wallet, if you don't understand what you're signing, you're writing a blank check. This is, for so many people, this is such a huge part of their personal assets. I'm way overweight crypto versus any sort of traditional financial instrument. So the stakes couldn't be higher for me and my family. You need to know what you're signing, and that's not a nice to have, that's a basic. But the problem is the tools don't make that super easy. So you can compare what you're signing against what you see in MetaMask or Rabby or Phantom or whatever you're using. But so what that looks like today is you have account labels, you're gonna have ENS maybe, and you're gonna have the ABI decoded, which means like you're going to see kind of the function calls. You won't see a blob of hex, but you will see, like basically what you would see in MetaMask. It's not quite good enough yet. Where we're going next with the Lattice One and subsequent devices is that for transactions you sign frequently, you should be seeing something in understandable language. Still be able to drill down, but it should be like, all right, you're using a known official Uniswap contract to trade this amount of this token for this much. Your wallet balance afterwards will be this. Are you sure this is what you want to do? And if you want to check the more technical details, you can go ahead and do that. But again, emphasizing that people don't read manuals, we as an industry have to make this easier for people. It's hard to make too many assumptions like that with hardware because we're the last line of defense. So we have to be sure that whatever we display to a user is precise and can always be relied upon. But that's where we're kind of evolving. We're going to make it easier for people to keep themselves safe. It always requires some active involvement, but that's the real goal. So the form factor, I love it. One of the things, there's a lot of techno nomads and road warriors in crypto. Everyone wants a mobile device. We are working on a device that's further out, but like you said, it's going to be completely cross-compatible with the Lattice and Safecards. So we'll have, I think, something that will be quite surprising to everybody, but still a little ways off. That's not going to be till later next year. But that said, the Lattice is pretty well future-proofed in that we're going to keep updating the firmware. All the features we add will be going to both, and you'll be able to use Safecards across both. So you have, if you want to set up tons of wallets with Safecards and have your backup set up that way, we're not going to make you start from scratch. So I'm very excited about that, but I'm staying a little more tight-lipped till we can show more. But I will say it will be unlike anything coming to market soon. And I think people will be very excited. And like you said, getting into the ecosystem now, seeing what we can do for you, finding out how much easier it is to back up this way and how it gives you more peace of mind. That is your ticket to all the things we're doing in the future.
Justin, this has been awesome. I really do think the Lattice One is kind of the gold standard of hardware wallets. It's really sort of like a Fort Knox. It's something that David and myself recommend. I'm actually there's someone who's even more passionate about the Lattice One than David and I are, and this is our very own podcast editor, Josh. He is a huge fan and super user of the Lattice One. And in just a minute, I'm gonna actually want to get his commentary on this to tell us what he likes so much about it. But before we get there, one thing I wanted to mention for everyone who's listening on Twitter Spaces is there is a promo going on. So right now, in partnership with Bankless, there's a 15% off Grid Plus Lattice One hardware wallet if you use the code Bankless 2024 at checkout. That's 15% off for the Lattice One hardware wallet. Justin, does this come with a safeguard as well, or is the safeguard sold separately? And then, how long does this 15% Bankless 2024 code last?
I believe it's good for the week. Yes, though. So the Lattice One, when you unbox it, you're going to get the Lattice One itself in your first safeguard. Safecards, so it's basically like getting 2 hardware wallets right away in the box. And Safecards, if you want to buy more, I'm very dependent on that workflow and use a bunch myself. We sell 2 packs for 20 and the code will, 2 packs for 40, so $20 per card. And the discount code will work for that as well.
Amazing. All right, guys. So if you're interested in this, if you want to get the gold standard, it's 15% off the Lattice One. And the code is Bankless 2024 at checkout this week only. So you should go ahead and do that. All right, Josh, are you up here? Are you speaking?
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
Josh, look, first of all, on behalf of the Bankless community, we don't often get to hear your voice, but thank you so much for all that you do to edit Bankless podcast and get us out there. But like on another subject, tell us why you like the Lattice One.
My pleasure. Thank you for the compliment. And it's really funny to have Lattice be a part of the Bankless advertising model because I have used their product for probably 3 years now, which is a super long time in the world of crypto. And I actually stumbled on it totally by accident. I'm someone who's kind of obsessed with really good design, and I just wanted a really nice experience for all of the transactions that I do on a regular basis, which is a lot. And through that, just randomly stumbled on their website. They had a very small Discord at the time, but I placed an order because I wanted to try it. And when I got it, I remember I was just very impressed at how much they care And that's kind of something that I look for when people design products is you can kind of get a sense for how much they care. Like iPhone has great packaging. Grid Plus had great packaging. You kind of open it up and it's presented very nicely. And then you go to set up the device, and even the PIN code, the 9-digit PIN numbers, they're all in different areas every time you unlock the device. So if someone were to kind of see the fingerprints that you put on the glass, it would never match, which is just something so small, but like something really thoughtful that I was like, oh wow, these guys really care. So then over the years, I've kind of put it up against everything, ledgers and Trezors and all of the other devices, and it's kind of held its own, mostly because it's just so damn easy to use. It just kind of sits on my desk, and it integrates with MetaMask, it integrates with Rabby, which is my preferred software wallet, and it allows me to see all the transactions in plain text and just click approve on a big screen without having to click those little freaking buttons on the device that are really annoying. So that is another big win. And I also really like how they just kind of try to stay out of your way. Where Ledger, you like the problems I've had with them are mostly software driven, where you have to update the device and their software is kind of sketchy, and they leak my email, and it's like they kind of rub me the wrong way. Grid Plus and like the Lattice device just kind of gets out of your way, where it just kind of exists on your desk and lets you do what you need to do and doesn't ask anything of you in exchange. And then the last thing is the safeguards. Those are awesome. I had a stack of like 6 or 7 ledgers that I used for everything. It was one, expensive, and two, took me like 20 minutes to sign a multi-sig transaction because I needed to plug in every single device every time. The cards are awesome. I throw them everywhere. I have them labeled with like my little kitchen labeler of what they are. Some are in vaults, some are on my desk, and some I take with me when I travel just to have as redundancy for a lower cost like hot wallet. They're awesome, and they're $20 each. So I love those. I really like the device. I'm really glad that Bankless has partnered with them because, I mean, yeah, I'm a super big fan, and I'm excited to see what the new device is because I will definitely be a buyer of that as well.
Amazing. Well, there you go, Justin. You got another fan in Josh. I think you have a number of fans in the Bankless community as well. So very cool. Once again, guys, if you want to get 15% off the Grid Plus Lattice One hardware wallet, which we strongly recommend, if you are going Bankless, that's you can do that. Bankless 2024 this week only. Justin, thanks so much for the time today. Thanks for hanging with us on the Spaces.
Thanks so much for having me. I could talk about this stuff all day. This was a lot of fun, and thank you so much for the kind words, Josh. That was amazing. It means a lot when we hear that from users. I want to say just one last thing too. The best thing you can have for your crypto security is people to ask questions when you're not sure about something. So I'm on the Bankless Discord. If you guys have questions after the podcast or you want to DM me, I'll reach out there. Come find us on our Discord. Anytime you see something sketchy that gives you pause, it's good to have a second pair of eyes on it. Always be skeptical and keep yourself safe. All right.
Let's end.
Thanks, Justin.
Bye.
Great.
Thanks so much. Bye.